think that's coincidence?
I don't know. It looks like it might be going now.
Okay.
Okay, we're almost there. So what we're going to do is I'm going.
Sorry. Is this position better, or you prefer the other position?
Let me look.
Okay.
We might. Yeah, wait, go down.
Down?
Yeah, this is fine. You're a little down. Yeah,
Yep.
It's fine.
Okay, I'm getting one more table. And
It's fine.
It's more stable.
Okay.
So I don't want this falling down in the middle of the.
Sometimes it rains and let me see if this is. Hi, everybody. I hope you can see me. I'm going to go check right now to see if you can see me on Facebook. Am I live? Yep, you're live. Vince, Kwame,
Yep.
We're live.
We're live. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hold on.
Hello, everybody. But it looks like it's delayed.
All right.
It looks like it's delayed. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Please share if you can hear me. We are about to get going. It's weird. I see you.
You see me? This is fine?
All right, I gotta change.
All
yeah,
right.
This is good. This is good.
All right.
All right. So, okay. Lighting good? Everything good?
Yep.
Okay.
Your lighting's good. My lighting's okay? You need a little more light.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
I'm gonna put on my I got this music that I always play.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to play it while I see if people join us for a minute.
Okay.
I keep saying I gotta change that music because whenever I play it, I gotta pay somebody else.
Oh, geez. Okay.
You know, but I have a producer who's putting something together for me. If not, I'm just gonna get my drums out.
Start.
For the next one. Not today. But
have you written music before?
Oh yeah.
Really? You're a songwriter. Oh man, nice.
Yeah.
What other instruments do you play? Drums or whatever?
All right, people. You know what this means. So get it together. Let me see you there. Yeah. All right. So go on. You can go on my Facebook page and see what the view looks like.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, people, share the live. Tell everybody that we are going to be on for a minute. We got fire. You know we got fire. Okay. We got that water. And we've got Kwame.
Hi, everybody.
Do you see it?
No, I don't see it yet. I'm looking.
On my timeline?
Yeah, I'm looking on your timeline. I see the announcement on the timeline, but I don't see it on the timeline.
announcement.
What's that?
right?
Below the announcement, I'm not, oh, okay, hold on. No, I see, no, I see
Okay, let me double
a video
check.
from 3 hours ago below the
Oh my
announcement.
goodness, okay. We're gonna make it public right now because I was talking to myself again.
Good. We're working out the bugs. It's better to work out the bugs.
Yay. All right.
Freshness. All right, here we go. Well, the link is on, so it needs to deactivate.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. Those of you who are here, I thank you for being here. We are about to start. Hope you all can see my fire. I'm gonna try to not cover it up because we definitely need fire for this revolution here. All right, everybody. This is a Free Haiti Movement evening with Kwame. And I'm going to do that introduction in a minute. Let me make sure I am recording here so that my YouTube people can participate. Okay, we are recording. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Thank you so much for those of you who got the notice and who came on. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All right. So let's get some stuff done first, and then we'll just get into the meat of this, right? Just like you see there in the description that I put out, this, I don't do any live or any video or anything unless I actually have something to say. And I have something to say right now. And it's really, so we're going to talk about a couple of things, just like what is Black liberation? What is going on? Why are we constantly being collaborators in our own destruction? And what can be done about that? I'm still looking for that 1%. You all know I say it all the time, that we can't unite with people who are asleep, people who can't, because of title, position within white supremacy and the profit over people system. They cannot do what I do. So, and I understand that. But it's getting tiring out here to be out here and have people tell me how much they love what I do, and then have silence out here. So that's one of the reasons I got Kwame, Piankhi with us today. He's been a supporter of the Ezili network for years. And I just think it's really important to talk in this moment with someone who is very well-read, who is very knowledgeable about our story, not his story, but our story, who I talked to lately, essentially on the regular, about various, disturbances that I see out here. I just called Kwame and I was like, what's up with these males? So Kwame is just this hardworking family man. I'm going to go into his bio for a minute, but talk to the people, Kwame.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I'm honored to be in Ezili's presence and your presence this evening.
Well, the honor is all mine, because I always be looking for Ogu out here. I always be looking for Ogu out here. Everybody knows that. What is Ogu? Give me that alpha male any day, Desaline, right? For me, that's what it's all about, right? I'm already here, right? Danto is here. So where is Desaline, right? We're going to get into it today. We're going to talk about, we'll talk about the Chauvin verdict. We'll get some stuff out of the way about the details of we're going to talk about the macro of this liberation struggle and our existence on this planet, a little bit about the micro, and then the cosmic. Because, one of the things that bothers me about doing my IT work is that, sometimes it's so boring for me, because those Negroes just want to stay in their white savior dynamic. And we're going to be talking about that too. And I've put together something for you. Hopefully, we're just going to take our time, right? We're going to take our time, go through what needs to be done, right? And then you can come back and watch this on YouTube, which I'll post it once this is finished. You can, of course, it's going to be on Facebook. But let's take care of some business. So here, so I say, let's talk about Black liberation, about the verdict, about the Biden-Harris duopoly, imperialism, the disdain, this culture that has been destroyed, Black rhythm, is what extends us out into spirituality. And it's just beyond belief where it is today. And so we want to get into that. We're going to talk about that jab thing a little bit, but not too much. As you all know, we've been censored. We being censored. Okay, so I ain't talking about CV or any of that. I'll be talking about jab, and I hope y'all know what that means. And then, you know, our brother DMX, he represented something that I want to talk about. You all know, not only am I an artist, but I started out making my living as an entertainment attorney. And I lived the 90s with all of those music and how we were trying to express ourselves, our pain. And I can say that DMX is one who didn't sell out. He actually used his platform to express the pain. This man expressed his life through his lyrics. And that really is what an artist is about. It's not these like made up Puff Daddy, Russell Simmons, all these people that actually destroyed the center of our rhythm. But him, you know, he took what he had and he expressed it. And this is why you see yesterday, you see so much love for him. It's not because he was a tortured soul, you know, and he talked about it. And I think that's what makes him different. He wasn't perfect. He talked about it. And you could see that he was using his music to reach some sort of redemption. And let's just talk about that. You know, what are we doing to reach ascension? And that's what Kwame is going to be helping us with, because he's got such a wealth of knowledge out here. So yes, okay, so this is Free Haiti. This is about canceling imperialism. This is about Black empowerment. This is about the dying in April, right? The dying in April. What does that mean? Okay, we are cosmic people. Where does April fit within the zodiac? And why are we dying in April? So let's talk about it, and let's talk about resurrection, because there is no dying without resurrection, people. And it's our power to resurrect and to learn. So hi, Carl Martin. Thank you. Thank you for putting on that comment. I'm going to try to be looking for your comments, people. And then, you know, yeah, do you know Carl?
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to put a link for those who want to participate as we get into this, okay? And Carl, you know, we had a great conversation the other day. I truly appreciate it. I think economic empowerment is where to go, and that's really what we're going to be talking about a lot about. So here we go. So I have, let's see here. Let me see if I can share my screen and get to what we need to get to very quickly. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen for a minute, everybody. Let's see. Share screen. Okay, so Kwame.
Yes.
Piankhi. I mean, I know him as a hardworking family man, all right? But he is also a trained and practicing engineer. He has worked within our community. And this is what I like about why he's here, right? We're talking to someone who works with our children, who's concerned about our community. And so he's tutored at the Center of Inner City Studies in Chicago, the Malcolm X Center program for boys as a member of the Baba Club. This is an African-American charter school in Detroit.
Yes.
That started, I think it's a Saturday school program for the whole public school system in suburban Detroit. And I know you guys remember that the platform, it was called Living in Black. That's what it was called, right, Kwame?
Yeah, it was called Living in Black, LIB Radio Network.
Okay, yeah. So he had a show there with a couple of other folks as a co-host, part of a black think tank, right?
Yeah, it was a black think tank. Brother Carl was very much a member of that think tank, and he was instrumental in the launch of that station. So
okay, talk to me about that. What was that? What was the Falcon Forum? What was its purpose?
Its purpose was to be a African-centered Black nationalist version of Meet the Press. So we would discuss the issues of the week and come up with solutions going forward. We would tie the geopolitical to the local. It was basically a geopolitical forum, but other things went in there: interpersonal relationships, health, things of that nature, because it all connects.
Okay.
So Living in Black was started by Kidi Awadu. But I said, Brother Carl was very instrumental in launching that station and a host of other internet stations, to be honest.
Well, I'm looking forward to keeping this series going, and maybe Brother Carl, you can come on with Kwame and talk about some of you guys' vision. And we can mix it up, okay? Because the themes we're going to talk about today are themes that I cover for decades, and they don't change. That's why I'm so bored sometimes. They don't change, right? So I want to mix it up, right? I want to talk to brothers like you guys and sisters like you who really are the silent leaders of our community out here, right? When I watched DMX's homegoing yesterday, what made me happy was the entertainment industry had essentially destroyed alpha males like this. And here it was, without them, the people showed you what they were interested in. And I love that, right? So it's a lesson that shows us that even though you and I, Kwame and Carl, we sometimes feel like we're in the wilderness out here, but at the end of the day, all those billions and billions and millions of dollars that they spend in the entertainment industry to effeminize Black males, to be about just straight misogyny and the whole culture. We're gonna be talking about that whole culture. DMX, he went from the inside, and that man accomplished he accomplished like 1,000 man's journey in his pain. So I think it's important for us, even in our pain, right? Because you see behind this, when I talk about the Free Haiti and Libere Haiti, there's the heart with the dagger going into it, right? That's the symbol of the Black woman. Our life is pain, and it comes, and it's an archetype for us. That's why he resonated, right? When you're disconnected, when the society is destroying your voice and your spirituality and your spirit, it's like having that dagger in your heart, and God knows, the ancestors knows, to pull that out and fight, you bleed. And he bled. So I just want to introduce to the Ezili network a few men. And Kwame is going to be one of them. You're going to hear him. He has a deep love for African history and traditions, and has applied what he has learned into the area he loves most, which is technology, gardening, and education. All those things are so important right now with excuse me, with the jab. Y'all better get back into gardening. Y'all better get back into organic food. Y'all gotta get back into grandmama's herbal medicine. So we're gonna be talking about, we're gonna start first, right? What is dying? And I want, we're gonna spend a few minutes talking about the cosmic, the solar, the cosmic, and then we'll go into the particular, the current Black issues like the George Floyd verdict, the Senate's passing this anti-Asian hate crime bill. We're going to talk about the, what did we get? All those people that sat there and danced with Mr. Biden's election. And then we're going to talk about the reigning right now, right? Because when I did entertainment as a hip hop attorney, one of the things that was dear to my heart, one of the things that we just constantly I had to get out of the entertainment business, right? Was because there was certain plantations like P. Diddy, like Russell Simmons, that were essentially they were outsourced. They were Black males that were being used by the entertainment industry to gather up talent, hold it if they wanted to, and only use the ones that mimic the message that they wanted, right? So that's why today we have this, this culture, supposedly, right? Not, so we're going to talk about, because April, right? April, how many has gone in April, right? You all know, right? Prince, that was April 21st, 2016. We have, and then now we have DMX and Shock G and the other guy, Black Rob, right? Just in the last couple of weeks. So let's get to it. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today is stuff that I've posted about throughout. And normally I do this in a newsletter that I send to my folks, right? So, but I'm not going to do a newsletter. I'm going to be doing this video, right? So, let's, before I ask the question that I want to ask about cosmic conjunctions to Kwame here, right? Let's talk there. I want to to show you a little bit about I hope I can. Oops. Show you a little bit about, okay, the rain, right? I posted this on Facebook the other couple of days ago. It was, I hope you guys can see it. I'm gonna all right. Kwame.
Yes. Yes.
Cosmic conjunction.
Cosmic rays. Yes. The sun has cycles. You have 11-year cycles of the sun where you, at every 11 years, you either have a max of sunspots and a minimum of sunspots. Within those, but greater than the 11-year cycle, you have 100-year cycles. And these are called grand minimums, right? And the real grand minimums occur every 400 years. So basically, when the sunspots are decreasing over a period of time, and this period of time might last 50 years, the weather has a tendency to be much colder in temperate zones. The rains return to the tropical zones that are deserts, like the rains are returning to Africa now. So many scientists and observers feel that we have entered a grand solar minimum starting at the end of 2019. The last minimum was in the early 1900s, but the last major minimum was Dalton minimum, which was the mid 1600s to the early 1700s, which coincided with the beginning of, well, the height of the chattel slave trade, right? The height of the trade in our ancestors. So essentially what happens during a minimum, the growing seasons are shorter in certain areas. However, certain areas are going to become abundant as well. And again, I'm going to point you to Africa. That's going to become more abundant in terms of growing. What else is happening at the same time? The magnetic field of the Earth is weakening. That means it's the weakest the Earth's magnetic field has been in, I think, in about 10,000 years. So that means we're about to have a major magnetic reversal. And during this time, you either have mass extinctions of animals and other species, and or you have the creation of other species. So when you have solar minimums, more cosmic rays enter the Earth. When you have a weak magnetic field, more cosmic rays enter the Earth. And I believe these rays can either lead to your destruction or they can lead to your ascension. There's much evidence that major pandemics occur when you have a large amount of cosmic rays coming in, but there's ways to protect yourself from that. So this is essentially where we are. The cosmic rays are non-ionizing radiation that are coming to hit you at this point. This is the era that we're in. And
you mentioned something about doing the slave trade.
yes,
there was a sort of cosmic conjunction, cosmic rays. What do you?
grand solar minimum, which they call the Maunder minimum. Right.
Okay. Now, what does that mean for us today? Right. So we see the dying, right? We see the dying. We see those jabs. We see the Wuhan. We see what happened in 2020, the lockdowns, and now for us as a people, we see this, the lowest of the lowest in terms of Black liberation. Right.
Yes.
How do that connects to this cosmic change that's happening in the world?
Well, I believe that during this grand solar minimum, we have hit rock bottom. And if we are in tune with the signals, we can begin our ascent to our rightful place on this planet. If you go back to the major minimum, the Maunder minimum, you had hungry Europe desperate to colonize the world so they can feed their people and really feed the rich in their people. So we were exploited during that time period. And obviously, we have yet to totally recover from that time period. But this is our chance to make things right 400 years later.
Okay.
If we pay attention to the signals. We have to be connected to the Earth and we have to be connected to the stars.
All right. So, okay, connected to the stars, connected to the Earth. We know that in our community, there is a segment that is not given voice, that has always been connected to the Earth and that always reads the stars. So our job is to elevate that voice. This is what we're going to try to do, right?
Yes.
But let's go to this rock bottom, okay? Because I think it's important to look at this rock bottom, right? And that's one of the things that, so we saw on April this week, the George Floyd verdict. We know that, we've had centuries, Black people have had centuries of exploitation, brutality, eugenics, and destruction, dying, right? But even in the dying, if you look at DMX, right, he left something behind, right? Besides his 15 children, right? He left people who are in pain with lyrics and ways of going through that pain, right? So even in this rock bottom, there is a way of leaving it all behind. And so how we know that Prince did it, you guys saw Whitney at a concert with her daughter, a Prince concert with her daughter, right? I looked for that clip only because, since I'm saying that, it rains in April, right? And now we have all of this dying that's happening in April, which is supposed to be about resurrection,
Renewal,
and renewal, right? So there is a warning for us, Black people, that we are not renewing. We have integrated with the profit over people, anti-nature society. And let's look at that. Let's look at that. Kwame, give me your opinion of the verdict, the Chauvin verdict.
the Chauvin verdict was the perception that things have gotten better, when in the reality, it hasn't gotten better, because there were just as many police killings of unarmed Black people in 2013 as there are in 2021. So all of the protests and the riots last year did not bring a chilling effect on these police killings. So essentially, the Chauvin verdict is maybe society's way of saying, here you go, Black people, this is what you get. Whereas other people get things that are more tangible, to use that word. Right?
Well, I went to the the police violence website, right?
Yes, mapping police violence, yes.
That's right. Well, it maps, you guys, you can go ahead and look at it, right? Because it's important for us to understand the facts here, because I see all of these House Negroes on radio just talking about how the vote is revolution and how they got no tangibles, right? To use the words of the US Black folks out here. But listen, it looks like 1,127 people were killed by police in 2020. And as of today, which is, was it 3 months now into the year? Three and a half months? We've had 335 people killed, right? And if we do that by 4 quarters, right? The estimate will be like 1,340. That's how I got the figure, right?
Yep, that's a very good estimate there. Yeah.
Okay, so so we're gonna have more people killed based on how many people have been killed in the last couple of months of 2021. 335 by police. If that continues for the next 4 quarters, it's going to be 1,340 for the year of 2021. And last year, in 2020, when we were in lockdown, it was 1,127 people killed. And most of the unarmed people killed by the police were non-white people. Blacks were 28% of those killed by the police in 2020, despite being, of course, 13% of the population. I don't believe any of those figures, really, honestly. Okay, I'm just giving you if you took them for real.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Derek Chauvin put his knee. I mean, he don't even look real to me. Okay, he looks like a clone of something, right? But he put his knee and his hand in his pocket for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And having a conjunction of a lot of people being at home, being non-essential, and understanding what society looks upon them as, everybody, a lot of people got to see this, what you and I, Kwame, have lived forever.
Mhm.
I mean, I begin this thing in my life. I begin this lynching of Black males. I just remember the Rodney King. I don't know which was your earliest memory. Of course, we know in history, we know Emmett Till and so forth,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
what was your first, real cognizant, big event of Black folks being killed on a consistent basis as entertainment for white supremacy?
Oh, geez. I mean, the video of Rodney King was the most public that I've seen. Beyond personal experience of being harassed by the police, right? Beyond personal experience, the video of Rodney King was the first one that I saw. And of course, Detroit in the 60s, and I wasn't here at the time, but in the 60s you had the riots in Detroit, which were the result of the anti-gang unit, a police department harassing Black males during that time period. But in terms of video being shot, it was Rodney King.
Mm-hmm. And I went from the Rodney King to Brooklyn, Amadou Diallo.
Yep.
Giuliani time. Oh my God. And the United States putting Haitians in Guantanamo Bay, where they put Al-Qaeda and terrorists, to going through 2 coups d'etats, to going to the imperialism in Haiti, and the arming of death squads. And here we are. Nothing has changed. 47 years Biden has been in office, and somehow Black people think he was going to change things for them. For me, the most relevant picture, it's very ironic. It really, truly is essentially ironic. Is this one? I don't know if you guys can see that. Biden kneels making false promises to get Blacks and Haitian vote. He essentially told Blacks that this is in what do you call that? This is in Little Haiti. So on October 5th, during his campaign, he went to Little Haiti and he told Haitians that I'm gonna do better than Trump. All right. And you all know I've posted this already. For those who are on my newsletter, go to the Free Haiti movement if you need to find it. But essentially, there is information out here that says that in the few months that Biden has been in office, he's deported more Haitians than Trump did in an entire year. But he made this treatment. He was going to treat Black folks from Haiti better than what Trump, who said that Haiti was and other African nations were, I won't even use his word, but leapholes, right? So he said he was going to do better, right? Now, I didn't believe him. And Black people essentially wanted to fight with me because, you know, they were just so into the white savior articulation of what white America is about. Could you talk to me a little bit about what white savior articulation of America is about? Like, what do they sell us?
They sell us validation. So, and validation to us is a couple of nice words, a pat on the back, while they're taking the coins out of your pocket. And so we so beg for white validation, we will give up our assets to do that. And I'll give an example. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was bombed, as we all know. What they don't teach us in the history books is that Black Wall Street rebuilt after that in Tulsa, stronger than before. So what killed Black Wall Street in the 1960s? Integration.
Mm-hmm.
So it was our desire to be validated, to even use another subject, look at the Negro Leagues in baseball. We owned most of the teams. You know, there was some white ownership of a couple of teams, but we owned most of the teams. The economic activity resulting from the Negro Leagues resulted in Black hotels, Black bus companies, Black restaurants, Black nightclubs, all those sort of things. So with the decline of the Negro Leagues, the hotels went away. The concert halls went away. So we traded a few millionaires for the wealth of the Black community just so society can validate us. And my theory is that the civil rights movement, the whole integration bent of the civil rights movement was planned based on the white doll experiment that they did in the 1950s, where the young Black girls always chose the white doll over the Black doll. And so you're talking children 6 and under. So this is already being embedded in their beings. So it's that desire for white validation is why we are where we are. Other ethnic groups look at politics as transactional. You do this for me, then I will do this for you. We are going to make sure you keep your promises, or there'll be some economic consequences to it, right? And those are said behind closed doors. Unfortunately, our leadership tells us to accept the promises in front doors while they are, and I'm trying to say a polite word for this, why they're essentially begging behind closed doors. So there's no negotiation, no use of leverage. And this is why you see no downward trend in police violence, because one, we don't control the politicians in our community. Even the Black ones we don't control.
That's right. That's right. And a lot of the Blacks ones we didn't put in where they are.
No.
Right. So, when I was talking to you, you mentioned that, the template is the Mississippi burning.
Yep.
Template. Could you explain that a little bit?
Meaning the Mississippi burning, that was a movie in the 80s that won the Academy Award. Basically, Mississippi burning, you had a bunch of white saviors going down to Mississippi to help the poor Blacks who are suffering from white terrorism down in Mississippi. And if people in our age group remember the controversy at the time that this movie was basically the white savior complex. You have to have a white savior in order, for one, for the movie to be green lighted, but two, in order for audiences to feel good about, especially white audiences, to feel good about what happened in the 1960s. But what this does to us is that we always, a large portion of our community expects a white savior. And we've had so many people come before us to say, this is not the way it should be, particularly Marcus Garvey when he was at UNIA. He made it very clear, that's why he kept it as a Black organization, that we need to be our own saviors. Any negotiations with the white community has to occur from a position of power.
why is it that we can't look, or not we, you and I understand this,
Mhm.
but well, I'm not even going to ask that question. So we know it's mental colonization,
Yes.
opportunism, selfishness, and cowardness that makes these Negroes essentially sell out, right? If you look at the screen right now, I don't know if you can
Yep.
see the
I can
screen.
see it. Yep.
Okay, all right. So this is like so boring to me, right? In my work with regards to IT, and even in my work when I was in the entertainment business, right? I I had to fight white lawyers to represent, Black hip hop artists. Same thing happened when I got to Haiti with Aristide. I had to fight white lawyers in order to represent my own country's president, because they want to take everything that we have, and we don't have a voice. So you have Bill Clinton, the quintessential so-called, I don't know what he is. All right. I call them all demon rats. But I have found, and I've said over and over and over again, and this is why I want to have fresh voices, because I keep saying it. So Bill Clinton will cry about the three strikes bills, which has put so many Black males in prison. He will cry about destroying the food sovereignty of Haiti, right? With their profit over people, subsidies to corporation, welfare to corporation, culture. And at the same time, right, Hillary Clinton will bring down the minimum wage for mostly the women who are in the various sweatshops. So we know this is what's going on. My question is, why do the Black educated people keep questioning that somehow these people are our friends? Like they're going to help us. Biden is going to help the Black community. Well, if he was going to help the Black community, there are, according to the National Crime Information Center, and this is a few years old, but 270,000 non-white folks have been reported missing since 2010, of which 64,000 are Black girls and women. And yet it took 1 year for the Asian folks in America to get a bill just for them, because of the jab thing going on, and how people keep talking about there is discrimination against Asians. We have been discriminated against for centuries, and yet they need to go study about how to provide us with reparations and some sort of justice. But it took 1 year, and there was no backlash, no white backlash with saying, oh, why should these Asians have this? All lives matter.
Yeah, because the Asian community has put itself in a position to exercise their economic power. They do that domestically, and they do that internationally. Let's not forget about the Chinese rail workers back in the 1800s. They were abused and they were deported and so on and so forth. If you look at that time period, what was going on in Asia? China was going through the Opium Wars, and Japan was being invaded by Britain and Russia and the United States. And but you fast forward to this time period, what do we see now? China, the lion's share of the foreign debt owed by the United States is owed to China. The United States manufacturing industry is in China, right? The Japanese dominate the auto industry. And at one time, they had dominance over the real estate here in the United States. Chinese corporations have a large amount of money invested into Hollywood studios and Hollywood entertainment corporations. So essentially, they hold a lot of the levers of power, which, to use the Tulsa example, we gave away. Because again, if you can't control the economy in your community, you can't control the politicians. If you can't control the economy in your community, you can't punish the politicians for not keeping their promises. So essentially, our people, let me take this a step back. The marching and riot model has been romanticized in the Black community. And, you know, we've seen all the films, Eyes on the Prize, and the music is great and it gets you into it and the speeches are rousing and all those sort of things. But you never take a step back and say, have these tactics worked? What have these tactics gotten for us?
That's right. I mean, we see that the, you know, we just look at the statistics, right? Police are still killing. And, and it's almost like I said, it's entertainment, right?
It's entertainment, and economically, we are not going anywhere as a people. And the indicator of economics is the structure of the family. There's a direct correlation between the employability of Black men and whether Black men are in the home. And I refer to a study that was done in Chicago in the early 90s. They looked at a neighborhood in the South Side, and that neighborhood was dependent on the steel mills in Gary, Indiana. So back in the 70s or 60s, when the steel mills were rolling, 75% of the men in that community were employed at those steel mills. And you had a 75% employment rate. So 75% of those men, if you look at the homes, 75% of the homes had fathers full-time in the homes. Well, when the steel mills laid off and the steel industry shifted to Asia, at U.S. corporate insistence, it wound up.
That was like in the 80s, right?
Or in the 80s, yeah, starting in the mid 70s when the steel industry fell apart.
Same thing happened in IT.
Yep, you only had 25% of the men in that community employed, and guess what percentage number you had full time in the home as fathers and husbands? 25%. There's a direct correlation. That's why economics is so important. So the chaos you see in our community is a result of us not being able to control the economies of our community.
Now, why is it that we seem to think, because there's like with Haiti men, it's like a sickness. They all want to be president. And they don't see that you got to own the economy first. Right? I mean, you just talked about it, right? And it's the same thing in America. They all want to have a position, a political position, but they have no economy to back up this position. And then when they get into these positions, the people who own the economy buy them and their vote. Yes. And this is repeated over and over and over again. I give you the example. Just recently, I was talking to someone who, you know, Haiti is under dictatorship right now, right? And it took them a long time to be able to do it. And it was done because, you know, at the earthquake, right, we were not able to fight them back, right? So they put in these effeminate men in pink. This is what the demon rats are about. They use gender and sex and have weaponized it. I mean, sex has always been used by the colonists, the Jesuits, the Catholic Church, who everybody knows, you know, is just a murderous institution. They've killed 80 million people during the Inquisition, right? And let's not even talk about Germany, right? A Catholic country, and this destruction of the Jewish people there. But you don't really put that together, right? Because it's all about Hitler, right? Nobody talks about what Hitler's religion was.
That's true.
So that narrative is, they control the narrative, right? But recently, you know, I was watching a presentation, and in that presentation, Haitians we're talking about why aren't the Haitian elected officials stepping up to Biden and Harris and saying, hey, listen, you had us pimp for you out here for votes, but yet you have essentially deported more people. They even deported non-Haitians to Haiti, okay?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, you've deported more people than the person you were saying was so horrible, right? And you know, why? I mean, the root cause of people leaving Haiti is imperialism, right? Haiti, just like Africa, are rich countries. If the United States wasn't fleecing it and dominating it and controlling it and making it poorer and poorer and poorer and having these Middle Eastern oligarchs who control 98% of the wealth and then calling that democracy and private
Sounds like
investment.
Jamaica.
It's the same thing. And that's why I wanted
Yep.
to talk to you, right? Because it's the
Yep.
same thing everywhere, right? So I wanted to have this parallel conversation, because what's happening with elected officials in America happens with elected officials in Haiti. They're all controlled by the system, and they have no economic base to provide the reforms that they tell people they're going to do when they get elected, right? Dr. Claude Anderson has been talking about this for decades, that you've got to have an economic base and then you buy the politicians.
Yep.
Right? So right now in Haiti, right, you have a Biden not only, you know, using the immigration laws as a means to destroy Haiti, right? Because if it was equitably applied, we would have no problems, but it's never equitably applied to Black folks, right? Just like the laws in America, you know, what's that thing with the drug wars? You know, you have crack and you have.
Yep. The sentencing, three strikes and you're out.
Yes. Okay. So not equitably applied, right? Black people, white people on meth and other things are getting treatment.
Yeah.
Black males and Black women are getting prison.
Because we are, and I'm going to quote Marcus Garvey again, that he said back in the 1920s, the Negro is the industrial makeshift. The U.S. has no use for us anymore had no use for us after slavery ended. So basically the country's been trying to figure out, what do you do with this group that we have no use for? So, and without seeing the fingerprints of us getting rid of them. And this was in fact discussed in Gunnar Myrdal's book, An American Dilemma. I think it's Negro and American. I might have the title a little bit wrong, but basically the premise.
Did your light go out?
Yes, I'm gonna turn on the light. So hold on.
Yeah. Like, where is his light? What is this?
There we go.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I was waiting for the right moment to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so essentially, what has happened, that book, the premise of that book is America doesn't want to appear like Hitler, but yet we have this Negro problem that we would rather sweep and go away. And so basically, this is what scientifically they've been trying to figure out what to do since at least the early 1900s. What do they do with this population that we no longer have use for? And so, I mean, you could do it through various means. It could be economic starvation, it could be abortion, it could be police killings, it could be mass incarceration, it could be menticide, right? And so
these are their tactics, right? Abortion. You also talked about before the feminist movement.
Yes, because that created division within the Black family. Because remember, what you always hear in the white community feminism, quote unquote, started, or at least not started, but really hit a peak in the 60s and 70s after these white women participated in the civil rights marches in the 60s down south. And they saw how much power the Black woman had in their home versus what they had, right? So
Okay. I never heard that angle before.
yeah, that's been repeated several times, and not with me, but between me and you. But that's been in several studies. They discovered that. So did the Black community need feminism? And
Well,
it's not just
I know we don't, but
yeah.
but yeah, you know, for me, whenever whenever someone talks about feminism to me, it's always about sex.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Hopefully, hopefully the lighting's okay. I hope the lighting's okay now. So,
yeah, it's better. It's better.
Yeah,
I don't know what
yeah.
happened there. Oh, I didn't see that.
The sun went down.
Oh, I'm like, what happened?
The sunset. So I'm going to turn up all the lights I can now, so you can see me better. So
yeah, right. Because yeah, you know, we want to see you. So yeah, so this is the thing, right? So yeah. when I saw the Haitian elected officials, essentially, right, they ran on the "we hate Trump" bandwagon, right? And look what Trump is doing, right? Because, you know, realistically, the facts are that Obama deported more people than Trump did. However, the media doesn't portray that. The media, of course, is representing the corporations who had a lot of problem with him and his tariffs on China.
Yes, because there's trillions of dollars of investment.
Okay. And the fact that he wasn't going to do the war thing at the level that Biden and the establishment Republicans needed to be done in order for them to maintain their financial profits.
Yeah.
So, but you can't explain that to Black people. They're so emotional.
And again, I
help
think,
me, please help me.
If you go back to that book written in the early 2000s called Disaster Capitalism, I think Naomi Wolf wrote the book. Like, there's a disaster like Katrina, and because the people have been beaten down so much, you bring in somebody that appears to be a savior that has a worse program than before a disaster like Katrina, or a disaster like the earthquake in Haiti, or name the disaster, right?
Right.
It could be economic disaster. So I think essentially what had happened to us was the Obama campaign and election was validation for a lot of our people. I've heard so many.
They're just like so pitiful. I don't understand it. Like, who gives birth to these pitiful Black people?
But unfortunately, it's a large portion of our community, right? It could be a majority of our community. So I've heard. So
it is a majority. It is a majority. I can tell you, it's a majority of the Haitian community. It's definitely a majority of the Black community. Period. In America, I live in both spaces. Yes,
and I was yelled at in 2008 for saying, "What are we getting out of this? Do you see who his advisors are? Are we going to be getting something of substance out of Obama, right? We need to have some leverage, and let him get in and he'll do right by us." I said, "No, he won't do right by us because we have no leverage over, right?" And so said, so done. So, but that being said, because we felt validated for that 8-year period. Then comes Trump with his rhetoric, and suddenly the validation goes away, and we feel extremely hurt. So you've taken people, it's like a drug. You've taken people from a high and dropped them right down to a low. And it's easier you're in a very fragile emotional state. And so then Biden comes along. Biden reminds you, at least psychologically, of Obama, perception wise. So you go, it's the whole roller coaster again.
Okay. So we know what the answer is, right? Mm-hmm. Self-reliance, self-determination. I mean, that's what it is, right?
Yes.
We know that that we have to go back into the earth, ground ourselves, and create and produce.
Yes.
Garvey talks about this. Kwame
Nkrumah. Yep.
Talks about this. Dessalines, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, the hero that we represent with the Free Haiti, he talks about this. Malcolm X. Why is it that we have these Black folks, collaborators, who, I don't know, I was talking to someone yesterday or this morning, and I said, he asked me the question, right? It was in reference to those elected officials that now say, when Haitians go to them and say, we elected you so you can use your access in Washington to present the Haitian case against dictatorship and against unequal application of the immigration laws, right? And I'm told that these elected officials say to these Haitians now, well, it's not all about the Haitian constituency. I'm in Brooklyn and I have a constituency of everybody, and I gotta look at everybody, not just you.
Well, but
what they're saying to them.
I know, but if you take it to Brooklyn and look at some of the other ethnic groups in Brooklyn, if they made that same statement to that ethnic group, that politician would be gone. He'd be scandalized. He would be scandalized in the media and be gone in no time, right?
And these Haitians are just like taking it.
But
you were elected to do something, and now you want to tell Haitians your constituencies is whiter than you. And isn't that the same thing that Biden just told Black people?
Yeah.
Right? So they just gave, the same time we got a verdict. Imagine the man stands on a human being, a sentient being's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And we were like worried that he might not be convicted. Oh my God. You know what? I was so not into it. Right. I was like, I wrote a piece. It's the last piece that's on my website. I was like, you know what? I am bloodthirsty and I ain't waiting for Kwame, because he called on his mama. So for me, I'm like, Black people, you are embarrassing. You actually think this is justice? Like that you were just gritting and knowing our history, that this animal, I mean, for me, I needed something more. I needed his face in the pavement. I needed to see something different, right? But all these mammies out here running around talking about, oh, thank the Lord, and this is juxtaposed, of course, with the fact that I'm very happy for the relief that his family feels.
Yes.
Right? They feel a relief that there's value in his life. But the same day, right? Police are still killing folks.
And that's the whole point. That's why I don't see that as a victory. I don't see this as a victory.
Okay, again, but even more, right? That same day, we have an Asian bill where they get money.
Yep.
Where they get attention about their own problems, and yes, they have real problems, right? There are some white supremacists out here killing them, right? Because when white terror feels vulnerable, it goes kills. That's what it does.
That's what it does. But
it has a history of killing.
But did you see any marches from the Asian community?
No.
You see any riots from the Asian
all
community?
They try to do is change the propaganda to demonize Black people and say it was Black people that were killing Asians.
Exactly.
Are you serious?
So what pressure was brought to bear to bring out that campaign?
Tell me, please.
Well, it was done behind closed doors, so I can only assume.
Everything was done behind closed doors. But the sickness of it for me, did you see in 2020 the Black women that they were throwing out of windows in China?
I saw that.
The black people that they were not giving health care to, that they
And
were blaming for COVID.
but did the African countries say you're not going to get our raw materials anymore?
No, we're shameful.
So again,
No, the African countries are opening up their bellies and allowing China to just come in.
And so had an African ambassador come in, or African president said, okay, no more molybdenum, no more copper, no more whatever. You pick the raw material. You're not getting it to run your factories. The black people in China would have been treated like kings and queens.
So globally, we know. Just Google it. How many black people were denied medical aid in China, in Japan, worldwide during COVID?
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, it's about America did not have to do a 30-year study to provide some relief to Asians who were affected by this society. And they were affected. I know that. We all know that.
Yes.
And we know pain is pain, and we don't want to see anybody have pain, but it is very, very minimizing for us when we look and we have to constantly be explaining our pain to people and why we deserve to have some justice. Yeah, but others just, as you said, it's about economics, right?
It's about economic power. And I will give you an example that Amy Jakes Garvey wrote back in the early 60s, in the book Garvey and Garveyism. And she gave an example. She said, for instance, pick any block in a big city, right? If a black person were discriminated against at the establishment, you would have a march, you would have protests, all sort of things, but nothing would change. And then she contrasted that to another ethnic group. And she says this ethnic group would come in, buy all the buildings on the block, and that person that discriminated against them would never be allowed to shop at their establishment, or they would raise the prices so high that they would get the money back 5 or 7 times over. So I think in our community, ego supersedes substance.
Explain that to me. Give me some examples.
Meaning that we have to be in front of a camera. And I'm saying this ironically, I'm in front of a camera. I don't like to be in front of one, but we have to be in front of a camera.
Yeah, but we don't have any position here. Okay. I don't have any position except the one I created.
No. But what I'm trying to say is that when we had the power to exercise economic leverage, we did not do it.
Right. No, because we feel that we have to be next to white people. And we don't understand.
And also, again, I go back to the whole model of the marching speaker model, where we have to be seen on camera. And, Gil Scott-Heron gave us a very good message back in the early 70s, which we still fail to listen to. The revolution will not be televised. That, it's the hard work of building an economy, building a culture, being able to defend your economy and culture. That is hard work, and it's not upfront work. It's not in front of the camera work. That is behind the scenes work.
Okay.
That needs to be done.
So we know from all of our previous revolutionaries, right? From Jean-Jacques Dessalines to Garvey, to X, to me, Dr. Claude Anderson, that economic development is war. We are at war, and we don't need to be sleeping with no white people to develop the masses, right? Yes. That's not like the big issue of our civil abuse. But that's what the demon rats make it. They make the lateral issues the primary issues, right? So for instance, the root cause of violence in Haiti is the poverty, the inequality, and the deliberate policy to bring in drugs and guns and give it to men who have no jobs.
Sounds like Jamaica.
Sounds like United States and Baltimore.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and at the same time as they're doing this, right, and they're building the prison industrial complex, they're doing street strikes, your laws, they're doing export economy where they take out all of your manufacturing and they just dump all their stuff, like what you're looking at in this slide, right?
Yes.
You know, the Haitian women are the backbone of the economy, as they are all over Africa. But yet America and the Clintons and the Bushes will dump American rice into IET so that the rice that's cultivated by the Haitian farmer is going to be more expensive because it's not being subsidized, right? They give corporate welfare and then they tell you to come up by your bootstraps, right? So we know this stuff. And then, you know, Clinton will come along. He'll apologize for destroying this. I don't understand Black people, right? We had the Tuskegee experiment. We had them giving us syphilis for 40 years. And yet they're taking the jab like it's nothing. What is wrong with us?
Again, I think it goes back to critical thinking in the Black community. We don't have discussions in our homes where you're asking questions. If somebody offers an opinion, you have to ask questions. How did you develop that opinion? Why do you think that way? What's the basis and history for that? And we don't have those discussions in our homes. We don't have those discussions with our children. There's not enough critical dialogue within the Black community. And there's also no, and frankly speaking, we've become an ahistorical people. And when I say that, we don't understand the big picture of where everything fits in, right? And we discussed this yesterday, but one of the examples I'll give is, why was the US government open from the mid-50s to about the late 60s to a certain modicum of Black progress? Why was that? Well, that's because the African countries were, quote unquote, liberated during that time period, and the US was afraid that they would go over to the Soviet Union or China as clients. And the US would have lost access to a lot of materials as a result. So during that time period, and this is in their own documents, there's a book called Cold War Civil Rights. During that time period, they said that we have to appear to be appeasing Black Americans so we can maintain some sort of good relationship with these newly rising African countries. Now, you fast forward to the mid-70s, and Nkrumah was exiled and died in Hungary, right? Even though he lived in Guinea-Conakry for a while after he was deposed. You had Sekou Touré, who died in Cleveland of cancer. You had Patrice Lumumba. You have Modibo Keita in Mali. You have, Amilcar Cabral. You go down the whole list, right? All this great leadership was assassinated or exiled. And then in the mid-70s, the US weaponized the IMF to punish countries that weren't cooperating. And the first example I had in my mind is what happened to Jamaica in the 70s under Michael Mann, when they decided to punish Jamaica for taking certain degree of leadership when it came to the Southern African countries and the apartheid, not just in South Africa, but in Angola and Mozambique and things of that nature. They felt politically embarrassed. So as a result, now you have compliant leadership because your country won't get loans from the IMF or loans from the World Bank. And so they have to undergo IMF restructuring, and basically the leadership class is there to make sure the populace likes the poison of the restructuring.
That's right. That's right. And I've worked with CARICOM, and those Negroes are, you know.
I know.
The first time I was in the presence of CARICOM and they all like started drinking the tea and hailing the Queen, I was just, wow.
And that's also the hidden secret of the Caribbean, because the Queen had still had a state of all those supposedly independent Caribbean countries. And oh, by the way, the Queen of England still had a state of a lot of the African countries.
Exactly. You see, and thank you, Papa Dessalines. Okay, so this is the thing. Okay, for my Haitian, right? For Haitians, right? You just don't even understand. Within the Caribbean, most of those 15 nations have a European colonized parent that still maintain their grip. Okay, and Haiti is fighting so that we could be that Black ruled independent nation of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, not the Toussaint Louverture paradigm, which has now gone global, and it's called neocolonialism, right? So you have the 54 African unions, where you have the nations of OAS. And so right now, the situation in Haiti, Kwame, is so parallel to what I see in the United States. I just wanted to sit down and look at those parallels, and then look at the answers, because, you know, we can't just leave with the dying and the conquering and the eugenics and the depopulation, because this is what we live throughout our lives.
Yes.
Right. Even though we do produce, even though, you know, I have done what we do, right? We produce, but it's producing within a system that is very, very demoralizing. And I wanted to look at all of these events that are the conjunction, right? We have a cosmic energetic change happening in the world. I can tell you as a spiritual person that I feel this release. And I've been doing Black liberation my whole entire life. And for the first time, even though my eyes see the Black collaborators and how they are desperate to keep us in this cycle of dependency, I see millenniums going the other way and leaving behind my generation. Thank the Lord.
Yes. Yes.
Thank the Lord.
Yes.
They are the answer right now. My generation is gone. Forget it. You know, they just want title, position. They want to be Wakanda and Obama.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. You know, they want to dance to you know, a real non-Black person being vice president. They want all those symbolic stuff that means zero to economic development and Black power. And that generation is gone. But I see the millennials doing things differently, you know, going out for economic development, going out for spiritual empowerment, and understanding that the only revolution in the world that actually took down white terror did it through spiritual connection to nature.
Yep.
And that we have the power to do this. And I'm going to continue to say this. Okay. So we just went through the reality of white terror, right? Where you have what Neely Fuller says, and what Dr. Clark Anderson says, you know, you have no friends, Black people, right? What Yorugu, whether you call them Yorugu, whether you call them Neanderthals, or whether you call, but this 1% that controls the entire world and has controlled the entire world through the corporate entity that trumps and has more rights than human beings. And yet we're sitting around, people are still arguing with me, talking about the only way we're going to win against this artificial entity that can pass its wealth to its children through a corporate mechanism. They tell me the only way we're going to win is if we go out into the street and yell and scream. The only way we're going to win is that we unify all these mentally colonized Negroes.
No,
And I'm going to say one more time, and I want to hear you. No, we need people who are quickened, connected to the biosphere, and connected to who we are as a cosmic people to lift up the energy of what we are, because we have millions in history. We need that 1%, 5%, whatever minimum number it is, because it definitely isn't the masses, to focus on attracting and creating, because the power is here. The power is here. I know it. I feel it. I actually know that I'm still going to be here when we do it.
Man, I like that. I like that. Me too.
I know this.
Me
I
too.
know this, Aisha.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this to you, and I'm saying this to Black women, Black males, all my males that they've put, all my alpha males in prison. And they left me with these beta, I don't know what. All right. I'm telling you guys again.
I'm not in prison.
No, I know. See, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for Ogu. That's why I have you here.
Yes.
Because for me, one of the ways to celebrate DMX, I mean, this guy was the ultimate ghetto warrior, right? He fought back and with nothing except his own story, his own talent, right? We can do that, people. Whatever you have in your hand is enough, right? Marie McLeod Bethune said this, right? And it's one of the things that I'm inspired by. Whatever you have in your hand is enough, because you got the ancestors behind you. So for me, as I look at what we went through, just right now, right? What we're dealing with is a Black liberation movement that is being run by integrated Negroes, put in by white saviors to maintain the system of white supremacy. Those of us, and they use every level of activity that Neely Fuller has said to maintain that system. They use the media, they use sex, they use politics, they use economics, they use the law, right? So we just had a law passed for Asian Americans. We just got a verdict, and Haitian and Black people are just jumping up and down because they got a verdict. Asian Americans in the same time got some very tangible stuff to meet all this white supremacists that was killing them, essentially, okay? Arbitrarily, capriciously, as they do the world over, right? But then they want to demonize my people, Black people, and say we're the ones that did it. You know, they might find like some random Black person. You know, how many times have we seen Black children go inside a grocery store owned by an Asian and end up dead?
Quite a bit.
You understand? And how many times do we have to look in Israel or in China or in these Asian countries and see how they're treating Black people to know that we need a global liberation of our people? So as I look at all this stuff, and I look at OHAITI in particular, most Haitian, we have a dictatorship put into office after the earthquake of men in pink who are running around being financed by global oligarchs to maintain the oppression of the people so that the United States could continue. Because, you know, the US Embassy in OHAITI, I always say, is a military base between Cuba and Venezuela. That's what it is. It's a military base. They don't care what happens to you. So they will continue to put in these guns. And this is why I wanted a Black male energy here today, because I started feeling so demoralized by the kidnapping and the rape that I see in OHAITI with young, not so young Black males who are powerless, but they're using their sexuality as a tool of war. Talk to me.
And
You come out of Jamaica, Jamaica
Yes.
has the highest murder rate. Haiti's moving up there.
Yep. Jamaica's one of the highest ones in the world.
In the world, okay?
In the world, yes.
But you don't know this, okay? So theirs is about 43 point something.
Yeah.
IT right now is 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying, and I really wanted someone whose roots are in Jamaica to talk to Haitians about how they can stop this.
Yes. Number one is return to the land if you can. And if you have to organize collectively to buy an acre in the country somewhere so you can produce food and sell food or produce clothing. And you might say, produce clothing. Yeah. Flaxseed is linen, right? And you have moringa plants. You have all these sort of things. And the model I'm looking at, you don't need a mass movement. If you can just organize a group of 7 to 10 people, 9 people, and you have several groups of 7 to 9 people starting to trade with each other and help each other and do economy with each other, you don't have to, that way you don't have to feed the current system anymore, because the way to defeat the beast is to starve the beast. And so we have to take the African form of martial arts, which we taught the world, right? Is use your enemy's weight against himself.
How do we do that?
And to me, that's by starving that enemy.
So the situation in IT right now, we have this dictatorship.
Yes.
He has armed the politicians, not just the one in power, has armed the ghetto areas, right? Mm-hmm. And this obviously, you know, just like in Jamaica, the ghettos came out of, you know, pushing people out of their farms into the cities to come and do export economy. And then, you know, the economy went to China in the 80s, and then you left with this slum, right?
Slum, exactly, yeah.
Okay, and then within the slum, you have all these people living on top of each other, and politicians want their vote. So they will drop guns and money, like a vote in IET, you know, just give them a meal good.
Yep.
Okay. And they've already conquered all the other Caribbean nations. All right. It's over for Dominican Republic a long time ago. Mm-hmm. Right. The last time they had a revolutionary was 1963. It's over for most of the other CARICOM nations, right? So IT is still fighting on. I'm proud of that. But I want to talk to you people about not making the mistakes and looking at Jamaica. And that's why I brought Kwame here, because so the answers are not like hard. They're very simple.
Like, yeah, because like if you look at Jamaica, the center of Jamaica is empty. Jamaica is supposedly 3 million people, right? Mm-hmm. And you have about 1.5 million living in Kingston. You have how many hundreds of thousands living in Montego Bay? So basically, if you drive through the middle of the country, it's empty. You have this fertile land that is empty. The food that people buy in the supermarkets are America's discards, and Canada's discards, and Japan's discards, China's discards, Israel's discards. That's the food that people buy in the supermarket. And then it's created a culture where young people don't want to farm. The average age of the farmer in Jamaica is 70 years old, 70, right? So I got into this discussion the other day where this person was complaining about, you know, the reason you have so much violence in Jamaica, particularly against women, is because of the economic frustration of the men, and we need to do something about it. I said, yes, okay, let's do something about it. Let's organize a fund so we can buy land to move people out of these ghetto areas so they can start farming for themselves. No, we have to get the government to do it. I said the government is not going to do it. The fact is, you have to create a parallel government by by helping people become self-sufficient. Because out of that land comes industry. Out of that industry comes commerce. And you're not dependent on a politician. The politician doesn't have to buy your vote. And the politician doesn't have to use a gangster to intimidate you into buying your vote. Or the gangster intimidates your family into selling your daughter to him. Right? This is going to be Haiti's future unless people somehow return. If people don't return to the land and don't develop a self-sufficient economy outside of that political system.
That's right.
And again, it doesn't have to be a mass. You don't need an organization of 100,000 people. If it's 4 or 5 people working together and those 4 or 5 people start succeeding, everybody loves a winner. Hey, let's try this. And so it's basically that radical inch of progressing. And to me, that's what needs to be done. And that's the message in the Black community here with the change.
Exactly. And that's why I want to have this conversation, because it's the same thing here.
We need to return to the land.
We need to return to the land. We got to stop eating their diabetes inducing foods. Understand that we're going to be the most stressed out people in the world. And because of the trauma of living under the constant death. I mean, they've made every time I don't watch them anymore because it's porn, right? The killing of Black people is so traumatizing, right? That if
it's psychological warfare.
It's psychological warfare, right? So this is what I saw when I went to OHAITI decades ago, right? I saw that what I was as a person wasn't reflected in the narrative about what Haiti is. So I created the non-colonial narrative on OHAITI, right? Because we weren't this. But in America, we have become the whole culture.
Yes,
we have actually become what it is that they want. The white terrorist dream is you to be their pet, for them to use your body in any ways that they want, because that's what they did under slavery. And then they want you to be grateful about it.
Yeah, because the enslaved African men wrestled each other on Sundays. What's played on Sundays here in the United States?
That's right. We're still the gladiators out here.
Yep.
Okay. And then so clearly the answer is self-determination. Nkrumah said it. Patrice Lumumba said it. Dessalines said it. Garvey said it. Okay. There is no, and Muhammad Ali once said, like, because I get a lot of white folks that come to me. And, of course, their culture doesn't support what I am, like a Black woman who has her own inner power, who's not looking for a what's that thing, a patron?
Yes.
A white savior to use me as their front man. And they get mad that I listen, I got a father, I got a mother. So, I mean, I used to say that to my law firm that I used to work with, right? So, but they will find that Black person that needs approval from the white savior. And the thing is, right, our history shows that they will always go for their community interests and not yours.
Of course. And again, that's what self-determined people do, is go for their community interests.
That's right. I
You
mean,
know,
it's only natural. It's like you see a lion and then you stand in front of him and like, please don't eat me, please, please, please. It's his damn nature.
exactly. And yesterday you and I
And
were
then
talking.
we keep doing that. Okay, so we've talked about that.
Mhm.
All right, so in IT, as I said, you know, we have this dictatorship put in under Obama and Biden. And then you see you have Haitians running around saying that they're going to use Biden to destroy the dictatorship. And then you have all of these Haitian politicians with this, I represented a Haitian president. He was the first democratically elected, so he had the vote legitimately. Mm-hmm. But yet without economics, he couldn't do anything.
And that's
without economics, they just destroyed whatever little capital he had in terms of political power. They destroyed it with their media, military, death squads, and so on. And I learned that very quickly. I learned that within a week of being in IT. I'm like, you have no economic power.
And that's why our transformation needs to be bottom up.
Okay, so we have to stop this going into politics and listen to Dr. Claude Anderson and listen to Jean-Jacques Dessalines. He said, you know, every Black person needs to have a vocation, something they can make a living out of. Okay. So those are the answers. We can't even skip them. Okay. So in IT right now, and this is the same parallel we have in the United States, right? Because I live in the belly of the beast here, right? I have nothing in common with the Congressional Black Caucus. Those Negroes maintain white supremacy. And like Muhammad Ali says, they may not think it because, you know, they're struggling every day with the little things that they're trying to do for their constituency. But within the macro of that, because like when you go to IET, when I spend time in IET, I think something has been done. And then I come back and all those details meant nothing because at the end of the day, the structure still maintain itself. So they might be in the detail doing something for one person here, one person there, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, we've got to take down this system that puts profit over people. And in IT, you have the white saviors. You know, I want the Ku Klux Klan. Every major revolutionary I know tells me, whether it was Garvey, Malcolm, they said, you know what? Give me the non-hypocritical white person, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I rather Trump a non-hypocritical. He tells you he don't, you know, he's about white supremacy. If you have money and you're Black, then he'll roll with you. If you could bring him something, he'll roll with you. But for some reason, Black people think that's everywhere.
Yeah, it is, because it's transactional. Trump brought the transactional part of politics up to the forefront. And that's what embarrassed America and Europe. And that's why they worked so hard to get rid of it, because that's supposed to be kept behind closed doors. You know, you're supposed to be able to smile in people's faces and then let them know it's transactional behind closed doors, right? Well, Trump brought that out up front. And I think, right. and you know, and this is not a support of Trump necessarily, but the fact is it focuses you as a person when you know what that
because everything is transactional. Okay,
everything is transactional.
These white saviors telling you they're giving you, right? In IT and in the world, they do it with what we call the non-governmental organizations.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Which is a charitable industrial complex where they make their money and they pimp poverty.
And take over your education system.
And take over, exactly. They take,
because USAID funds the education system in Jamaica.
That's right. There you go.
Not the sole funder, but they provide a large amount of funding. And so in a Jamaican textbook, and I'm not saying USAID directly funded this textbook, but they took a look at all the ethnic groups in Jamaica. And in this textbook, the white ethnic group were shown as business owners and called, various names, English Jamaican, Irish Jamaican, Scottish Jamaican. The Asians were called Chinese Jamaicans. We had Indian Jamaicans. But when it came to the Black people, all those other groups were business owners, were pictured as business owners and captains of industry, right?
Going now.
Jamaican, Scottish Jamaican. The Asians were called Chinese Jamaican. I'm hearing my voice back. But when it came to the Black people, all those other groups were business owners, were pictured as business owners and captains of industry. Captains of industry, yeah. I'm hearing the feedback as well. Sorry. The Asians were called Chinese Jamaican. I'm hearing my voice back. When it came. Okay, good. And so the Black people were shown as service workers.
That's right.
And there was no African attached to the because one of the problems in Jamaica is not as much with this generation, but it's still there. You can't call somebody African in Jamaica.
No kidding.
My grandparents' generation, if you called them African, that was almost a fight. Right? Not all of my grandparents were that way, but that generation was that way. So that whole designation of being called African is very much offensive to some Jamaicans. So now you have a textbook that reinforces that.
And this is where they're going in IET. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have a country that's 90%, 99% Black. They're going to that space. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's because white saviors are running IET, and the Middle Eastern oligarchs, the former descendants of the Arab slave trade, are the economic middleman. So very soon, they're about to do this referendum, and these Haitians keep telling me it's not going to happen. They told me dictatorship would never happen, and yet they have no economic way of changing anything. But they somehow think that just talking to Washington is going to make a difference when they have no leverage.
And that is the whole point. And
this is embarrassing. And this is why I like the millennials, right? They understand that without leverage, you can't move forward in a transaction.
And this may be a discussion for another time, but the Western form of governance is top down. The African form of governance is bottom up. Every family in Africa belonged to a house, and that house had a say-so in who became king, who became queen mother, and that house had a male and female representative in the ruling council, right? So again, it's a more foundation up model. So we need to return to that model, and part of returning that model is creating small groups that have an economic interest or develop economic power and produce things, right? We are not going to get anywhere voting a guy into office. We're not going to get anywhere changing a country's constitution without having the economic power behind that. So that's something I have to emphasize again and again and again. That the reason even our most sincere leadership is always toppled is because we don't have the economic power to protect that leadership.
That's right. That's right. So I just don't want to hear it anymore with these Haitians coming to me about they want to be elected as president. Like, where is your economic power?
Yep, that's ego.
Okay, that's all it is. It's
if you want to see a true man and a true woman, they're talking about developing businesses, whether individually or cooperatively, to help uplift their community. And they're working together.
And not like a foundation funded by white saviors. That's not a business.
No. No, that's someplace that's someplace you go to if you can't get a job anywhere else.
That's where they go though. And they think that just because they're being funded by the Ford Foundation or some other Catholic Relief Services or Red Cross, that somehow that's a job. No, they funding you because you're maintaining their policies. And the minute you don't maintain their policies, they're not funding you anymore.
And it also goes to what we allow our children to specialize in when they leave home, because these foundations grab people who, you know, and I might offend some people in the audience, who get these generalistic degrees, right? We need to have skills. If the skill is farming, if the skill is engineering, if the skill is welding, if the skill is masonry, if the skill is pottery, we need to have tangible skills that produce. If you're not doing that, you're wasting your time. And if you're not doing that, the powers that be are going to use you as a parasite to suck the blood from your community. We have to have skills. That's
right. So let's look at this both with regards to the United States and with Haiti, you know, the country that I do a lot of my human rights work with, and here, right? So in order to stop, we have Black males destroying essentially the community within, with you know, like I said, there's a lot of raping going on. There's a lot of kidnapping going on. And then they will tell you that they don't have resources, and that's why they're doing it. And I'm saying, like you just said, within Jamaica, now we are, you know, 10 times as big as Jamaica. There's 13 million Haitians, right?
Yep.
We have the most people, most Black people in the Caribbean.
Of course, yeah.
So 13 million Haitians, and then we have another 3 or more million overseas. And just like Nigeria and the other countries, the people left behind only make, you know, are able to buy those discarded goods like you were talking about, right? That's what we have too. We have discarded Dominican goods, Vietnamese goods, American rice, the Pepe economy, right? And we're not producing. So the answers are very simple. As hungry as you are, plant something. Plant something. And I'm saying this not only in I mean, I have plants everywhere right now because I don't trust that the supermarkets are going to be around when I need them.
That's why I have plants everywhere.
In America, I'm talking. So imagine. So in Haiti, right? Just like Kwame was saying that you have 3 million Jamaicans, and they're all living in these particular areas. What did you say? There was 1.5 million?
1.5 million in the Kingston area.
In the Kingston area, okay? When the middle of the country has nobody there, okay, and they need to move, then this is the same thing with Haiti. We have about 3 million people in Port-au-Prince. It's time to go to your laku and plant something. If you're hungry, plant something. You have mango seeds, avocado seeds, plant it. Stop waiting for a government to feed you, because they are not. As a matter of fact, the European started his destruction with famine in his own country and creating famine to control the serfs. So famine is created in Haiti by policy. By policy. They want you to starve, because when you're starving, they can then pump your body in with vaccines. You have no nutrition, you have no immunity, but they are pumping your body with these things. And they're saying, you know, let your body metabolize, you know, the malaria, whatever it is that they're giving you as a World Health Organization eugenics. This has been going on for a long time. We know the results. We know that we have the highest what cervical cancer rate because of all of the guinea pig things going on. The answer, people, is grounding yourself in that sun, grounding yourself in your plants, grounding yourself in creating for yourself. And I'm now talking to the Black males in Haiti, inside these ghettos. Listen, it's not too late. We still have one of the least violence rate in the Caribbean. Let's not bring it up to the level that the European wants you to bring it up. They keep telling you you're poor because we're going to finish this thing with the cosmic laws of the universe, right? The cosmic laws of the universe is, as a man and a woman think it and puts action behind it, so shall it be. You don't need a white man's education for that. That's what got you here, is 217 years of creating for yourself. You have to create for yourself. I know it's not seductive. It's not Jay-Z's millions. It's not Beyonce's, popping stuff. But start with a plant. In America, I'm saying this to my Black people too, okay? Hell with this duopoly. Listen to Dr. Claude Anderson. Listen to these millennials that are putting together economic spaces for themselves and their community. We were talking recently, when we were talking about what we're going to talk about here, right? So we've talked about the verdict, we've talked about the systemic, how systemic it is that we get nothing out of this society, but we keep running after to get something as if they're going to give it to us.
Stockholm syndrome.
It's just like,
yeah.
It's just annoying to me, and it makes me ashamed sometimes, because you did not learn after 200, 400 years that they will give everybody else reparations and compensation and justice except you.
Only powerful people get reparations.
I want you all to write that down. Okay, say that again, please.
Only powerful people get reparations. Reparations don't go to
powerful people get justice.
Yep.
Okay, they will not be accountable unless you make them accountable. Hell with this, like, begging people, haïtien. Okay, and I hope I'm not even going to do this in Creole. Okay, hell with it. All right, all these men who are hurting the economic backbone of Haiti, you need to stop. It's not going to help you. How many years? Tell me, how many years has the violence been going on in Jamaica?
The gun violence probably from 1975 through now.
You want to know how many decades that is? You want to look
46
back?
Years. 46 years.
46
years. Minimum 800 murders a year. Average 1,000 to 1,200 to 1,300 a year. Multiply that times 50 years.
Wow. Okay. So Black males are killing other Black males, but they're leaving the economic exploiters alone.
Yeah, they're killing other Black males, but then the sickness gets so deep, they're killing Black children now. Right? The sickness gets very deep. And so
is this where you want to go, Haitien? Really? This is where Dessalines and Gongiton and Gontoya, this is why they did a revolution? For you to become what the white man wants you to be? He wants you to be the poorest of the poor and the most violent of the violent. He wants you to reflect and project his savagery. I'm saying no. And now I've talked to these Black males in IET. Okay. Guerrilla warfare is how we got out of what we needed to get out, and production and connecting to your own spirituality. For me, we have an opportunity in IET and we have an opportunity globally right now. I see it. I didn't see it before. For a long time, Kwame, I would be calling people and I was like, why did the ancestors put me here? Where is the light? Where is the, how do I get out of this? Less than 1% of the people are about revolution. But now I see it, and it's because there's an energy shift. You talked about it, you know, we're going to conclude on that. You said it was a tipping point. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, tipping point means if you have a certain percentage of people, and doesn't have to be the majority, once they adopt a point of view and focus on a certain path to get to that point of view, it can change a whole society. Some people say the tipping point's 10%. Some people say the tipping point's 5%. You don't need a majority to go forward. All you need is a dedicated minority to push our people forward.
Okay, and what does that mean? We just talked about that the path towards integration in America is a dead end.
Yes.
So question. It's a dead end. All right. Voting is a dead end when you have no economy. Right?
Schooling is a dead end.
Say again?
Schooling is a dead end if you're not.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Because we do well when we teach, when we combine our culture with the 3 R's, right? Our students do well and do great things. The schools that we have aren't about teaching us about our culture. The schools that we have aren't teaching us how to think. They're just telling us to regurgitate what they deem as facts. One of the things I was pleasantly surprised about during the so-called pandemic is that the amount of homeschooling among Black parents here in the States has increased by 5 times. Nice. So again, the seeds are there. The public school system has done nothing for us.
And they hurt our children.
Yes, they do.
They hurt. You're sending your kids somewhere where they're going to be hurt.
Mentally and spiritually. They come out damaged.
So let's wipe this up. Let's kind of wrap this up a little bit with that. Okay. So I'm tired of Haitians telling me it's in unifying with our enemies and people who don't think like us, and the Stockholm Syndrome Negroes and the PhD Negroes who are all about academic genocide and funding from their own exploiters. I don't want to hear it anymore. Okay. From where you stand, from whatever's in your hand, it's enough. And I'm going back to DMX. I'm going to back to DMX to finish this thing up. Okay. Before I even do that, I'm going to show you why Kwame and I, when we talk, like we resonate, right? Kwame, I didn't say, we didn't talk about this, but why am I going back to DMX like, after all of this to end this thing on this cosmic level?
Because DMX, he transitioned and he's transforming to another form. And so
talk to me.
Because what we're in the cosmos, we're the era that we're in, you either ascend or die. DMX felt he had to ascend. And ascend, you can still be here and ascend, but if you're not ascending while you're here, you are dead. So is DMX more powerful than he was before? You know, based on the homegoing yesterday, yes, he is. right?
That's right. That's right.
Is Prince more powerful than he was before? Let's hope so. I know they're trying to destroy his legacy.
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Mhm.
This was his homegoing, everybody. This is that monster. Can you see that?
Ah, geez. Wow.
He's got a red casket right there.
Wow. Ooh, I hope they don't hit a bump.
People came from all over the world. I mean, people came from look at this, right? And if you look at DMX trajectory, right? This is a Black man who didn't believe he had anything. I want to go back to that. He didn't believe he had, you know, the industry didn't treat him well. That ridiculous Buff Daddy told him he wasn't marketable. I like to see that man have that kind of love, right? Because right now they're talking about how, I don't keep up with these Negroes, but the curse of Bad Boy Records. All right. So I just want to take it there, right? Why was he powerful like that? As an artist, I know that when I touch something that's real within my life, it resonates with other people. Mm-hmm. Did you hear me, people? When you touch something real within your life, not some made up Cardi B whole culture, but when you touch something that's real and is about community, but your own also personal growth, right? So what did he do? This Black man came out of a stressful situation, right? I mean, he reminds everybody of Tupac, right? All of those things but he used his art by telling his story. And I don't know who it was. I was just talking to someone today. Oh, it's my brother. Hey, David. Hey, he told me, he's like, I went to a DMX concert. You know, he spent 20 minutes talking about his dog. Hey, he could care less about marketability. He talked about what was important to him. And just doing that, something simple as that, people felt him, right? Because, he tells you the story of being homeless and making friends with stray dogs. It meant something to him. It may not have meant anything to the people that were there that might have a different life, right? But the people who have his life, it resonated with them, right? That he found that loyalty there and didn't find it in the world. He found that love there and didn't find it in the world. And he wrote about it. And it resonated with people. That's just one example of being your authentic self. I mean, he was a tortured man, yes, right? Because he tells you the story of somebody you mentioned right now that Black males are hurting children in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Same thing in America.
Yep.
Okay. Same thing in America, right? Someone gave this young boy something, some drug laced with crack and got him hooked when he was a kid. And he could never be able to just lose that.
Yeah.
Okay. And he had lots of love around him and so on, right? But he couldn't do that. He lived in that pain. Okay. But he's an example of one of these alpha men that survived the system. I want you all to think about all the other alpha men who never got this funeral, who never got this love from the world, who are in prison dying alone because white terror never saw their humanity. But no matter what DMX did, and I'm sure it was trying for his family and his loved ones, they saw his humanity. He expressed his humanity. He was productive. So wherever you are, Haitien, I know how hard it is inside Cité Soleil and Bel Air and Solino and Grand Ravine and Village des Dieux. Don't lose your humanity at all. Don't lose it. You have a legacy to reach. The whole world is waiting. I mean, it's gotten to the point where the Bahamas and Jamaica, people have made it normal. What they're shooting you about right now, it's normal in other places. Don't make it normal in Haiti. If you can hear my voice, don't make it normal. Okay? Inflicting pain on other people who have nothing to do with your struggle. Okay, now if you were inflicting pain on the people that have something to do with your struggle, I'll be there with you. I'll be there with you. Okay, and let me tell you, if you don't know who they are, they're the oligarchs in Haiti, and there's the US Embassy and the core group. They're the ones that are inflicting pain in this systematic policy. They're the white saviors in front of you telling you they've come to save you. They didn't come to save you. They're giving you Jesus and taking everything you got. This is not new, so I don't know. So at the beginning of this year, I wrote a piece about Cyrus B. I'm going to say this name. What's that? Betelgeuse?
Yes. Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
Yep. And Sirius B. Yes.
And Sirius B.
Mm-hmm.
You know, about manifesting, ascending. One of the ways in the Haitian Revolution was that we understood how to read the stars. We understood how to know vibration. When you walk into a situation, people in Village des Dieux, people in Cité Soleil, you got to start reading this situation. There is vibration and energies out here that will warn you that this is not where you should be going, because now we have mindsets that have become Neanderthal. They've become Yorugu. And if you're a family member of these gangs that are killing for Jovenel or killing for just the opportunity of it, and then using, I don't subscribe to this, but there are some Black women who say that there is a, what's that thing where, Black males are being destroyed. They're an endangered species, but they also say there is a culture of Black male worship. Mm. I don't think it's a culture of Black male worship, but I do think that patriarchy allows Black male to believe that their only worth is their sexuality. Could you speak to that a little bit? Because that's what they're using. They're using their violence, their sexuality against their own community. It happens in America, in the United States, and now it's happening in Haiti and these numbers that I've never seen before.
Because I think too many young men are raised in a culture with each other that you are a man based on how many women you have. And the way to get a lot of women is to have a lot of money, apparently, right? So these young men or males think they can get a lot of women by selling drugs, being violent, all that sort of stuff. And that gives you a sense of status in the community. Whereas it probably should be looked on as a lack of self-control if you need 10, 15, 5, whatever women to make you feel validated. And my whole thing is that one, a real man takes care of his family. Two, a real man sticks his hand in the dirt. Right? And we need to get back to that. A real man is not somebody who's just flashing a worthless luxury car, flashing worthless polyester clothes and thinking you look good in them. No, a real man is wearing jeans or wearing African clothing, getting his hands dirty and growing something, or getting his hands dirty and producing something for the economic development of the community.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you said that just so impressed me, you said a real man makes jobs for his community.
Yes.
Makes economic wealth for his community.
That's what a real man does.
And so that's what I need you to do in IET. That's what I need you to do. That's what we all need you to do in America, and globally, right? So as I end this thing, I want to, when I looked at Beetlejuice and Cyrus, what's that other space that we talked about? I just remember writing about it. Just okay.
I'm trying to remember now. Go ahead. You go first.
No, go. So
you had Sirius B, Sirius A. You had Beetlejuice.
That's right. Sirius A. What's it called? The Dark Star.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Dogon called one Potolo, the other Sigitolo.
Okay.
Right. So one is the more hidden one. One is the more obvious one.
That's right.
And so out of the explosion of the more hidden one, the smaller one created the solar system. We are, and they say, I think Potolo is the smallest one. I forget. I reverse it. They say that's the oldest material in the universe.
Okay.
And we are part of that. We are
made of that material.
Exactly.
And what I feel is that it is what we don't see. It is, and I'm making that allegory with the dark star. It is what we don't see. So people, right? They bombard us with they demonize our people. They bombard us with our poverty. They bombard us with our helplessness. They bombard us with the only way to coexist is to just be the mammy and lift up everybody, but not yourself or your people. But outside of that, I see the dark star. And what did you say that dark star was? The oldest?
The oldest material in the universe. That's what the Dogons say. It's the oldest.
It's the kernel of creation. It's what you don't see. That's the kernel of creation. It's what you can create through your own vision. That's the kernel of creation. And I, for the first time since I've been doing this work, since I went to IET 27 years ago, we are at 9, the number of creation. So my people, step into your power. Step into your power. It is what you don't see that lives behind you, right? Le marasa, le moi, le mystère. You are millions of years old. You are a cosmic people. Your wugu needs to be locked up someplace. They need help. We do not need to become your wugu. We do not need to become Neanderthals. We do not need to become this savage. And I'm counting on you, Haitian males, to lead and protect the children, the women. And the women, I'm looking for Danto, okay? Trophy wives can get out of my face. I don't need the whole culture. We don't need this idea that your sexuality is all that you are. Okay? Your sexuality is not all that you are. It's part of what you are. And when you connect it to the dark matter, it is damn powerful. I could say, I don't want to be nothing else but a woman. I'm going to give you the last word here. Talk to the people.
Oh boy. As I said before, this is ascension or die time. So the universe is throwing us through some changes, and it feels like chaos. But and I hate using the Masonic term, but out of this chaos is going to come a new order if we follow the energy correctly. And I said earlier that the earth and our stars and the stars are our teacher. In Kemet, the word for star is Seba. Guess what the word is?
Spell that for me.
S-E-B-A. The word for star is Seba. Guess what the word for teacher is in Kemet? Seba.
Okay. Talk to me.
So basically we have, I would like to get back what my great grandparents had, where I can look at a star and tell what the weather is tomorrow. So part of that relearning is getting your hands in the dirt. That worm's going to be your teacher. The birds are going to be your teacher. The birds are going to teach you how to be a patient parent when they're birthing their children. The plants teach you. The moon will teach you. The moon will say, okay, it's time to plant plants that grow up. And when the moon is not there, it's time to plant plants that grow down. So allow the earth and the skies to be your teacher, and spend silent time. Talk to your plants, talk to the birds, talk to the sky, see what answers you get.
That's right. Okay. Thank you so very much, Kwame.
Thank you too.
For being our guest and giving us, this wonderful, learned, I just want to meet and talk to more of, people who are about revolution, people who, and it's quiet. You don't need to have position and title and recognition. All you need to do is to stand within your own power. And I know that you do. And I thank you for being our guest. I'm hoping that, this wasn't too bad and you will come back again.
Anytime you invite me, I'll be here.
All right, people.
All right.
This is Ezili. Let me see if there's anyone in this room who has something to ask Kwame before we leave. Can we look? And then if not, we will say goodbye.
Look here.
Let me see here. Where is it? Where is it? I'm gonna be putting this on I'm gonna be putting this on YouTube for you guys, okay? And I hope you took away what we want you to take away, that there are cosmic rays falling on the earth and it's going to affect our health, including all kinds of things like our blood pressure, our cognition, everything. But at the same time, there is an opportunity. Once you understand the vibration around you, you can use those vibrations in this avatar, in this body, to create a new world, one that's in the dark star. That means that's in your mind. That's about our Black liberation. The time has come, people. The time has come. Thank you so much. Haitians, I don't want to hear this any more of this violence. We don't want to get to any level. We want to get rid of the white saviors in Haiti. In America, you need to be talking to what people are now calling the new Black media that's out here. There's a few people that I really admire that are doing some good work. You need to go find your news, and your space is there. You need to find brothers like Kwame who are within this storm, but who are moving forward, right? I see the millennials. I see them moving forward towards economic development. And they need to stop doing economic development within the white man system. They need to create their own. Ownership is the most important thing. because I remember long time ago, when I was a young associate at a law firm. And I remember the Japanese were buying up all these American edifices. Like they were buying up like not Carnegie Hall. What's that place that they have the we'll say again? Rockefeller Center. Yes. Yep. And all these banks, you know, and I said to the partner I was working with, I was like, aren't you why are you selling all of these edifices? It's like, because we can just destroy the market and they'll sell it back to us for $1.
They did that.
And they did do that.
They did do that, yeah.
So that's just my thing to the millennials. Don't trust their markets. Create. Thank you so very much, everybody. Let's put some music and get out of here. All right.
Have a good night.
All right, bye. People. I'm still gonna try to put this music on right now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kwame.
Thank you, Billy. Take care.
X. For you, X. Have a good passage, my brother. Ancestors, look out for him.